Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a series review, which is one of my all-time favorites to record for two reasons. The first being that I get to talk about a series, which is always fun. I think it's just so much fun to complete a series and then be able to share the feelings and thoughts you had, the experiences you had throughout the series. And also because it means I completed something that has been sitting on the bookshelf. So yay to finishing books on the physical TBR. That being said, welcome guys. If you are new here, my name is Jaya. I put out videos every Sunday and Wednesday on bookish related content. If that sounds like it's up your alley, then definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. For those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. It's always so nice to have you guys here and to talk all things books and create this bookish community. Without further ado though, let's jump into the video. So, the series that I'm going to be talking about today is a hockey romance series. Now, in the month of January, I went through a period of wanting to complete all of the hockey romances that have been sitting on the bookshelf. Some of them were just, average meh books, but they were fun to read. Others were absolute garbage, in my humble opinion. But this series happens to be one of those series that really did touch me emotionally, and I'm very, very, very excited for the final book in the series to hopefully be released this year. I know there was talk that originally the final book in this series was going to be released last year, but that didn't end up happening. So it is now being released in 2025. Fingers crossed. The series that I'm talking about is by the author Becca Mack. The series is known as the Playing for Keeps Hockey Romance series. And the first book in this series is called Consider Me. I absolutely loved this book. Consider Me is basically following two main characters, the first one being Olivia and the other one being Carter. Carter is an absolute goofball. He loves his family. He loves his found friends. He is very much like team captain, really cares about his teammates, really cares about representing who they are as people on the ice. They are very, very connected as NHL players with one another, and in both the traditional sense of the word, in terms of being great teammates, but also in the sense that they really truly feel like they're one another's support systems and family. They spend all their time together and they are so, so close. But in the beginning of the book, he comes off as a complete arrogant ass. He is known for being a playboy. He never wants to settle down. He doesn't believe in having girlfriends or emotional connections with women. Enter Olivia. Olivia happens to be the best friend of Kara, who is one of the main female lead characters in this series. Emmett is Carter's teammate. He is a wonderful hockey player and one of Carter's closest friends. And his girlfriend Kara and him have just recently gotten engaged. In this situation, when they're having a party celebrating both Emmett and Kara and just having a good time, Kara happens to invite her best friend, Olivia, to come to the party. And when she's there, Carter, of course, notices this beautiful, stunning woman and wants to know who she is. Meanwhile, Olivia has obviously been warned by Kara that, hey, he's a goober and he's so much fun to be around, but he's a complete and total dick. Do not fall for this man. And then the story progresses from there. It was a little bit predictable, but I would say overall the story was really fun. I also like the fact that you have different aspects of the story playing through. So you have the initial part of the book, which is really about their romance and their communication, which is beautifully done. Then from there, you obviously have your romantic scene. So if you do want to skip those scenes, you can. They are not necessary to read in order to understand the storyline or the plot. There is spice in this book, basically. But if you do choose to read it, it's well done. It's not over the top in this book, and it's not so poorly placed that it doesn't make sense. But I would say it's probably more than what needs to be in there. And there are multiple spice scenes that I ended up skipping because I was like, after the first scene or two, I was like, okay, I get it. I can move on. So there is spice in this book. Just keep that in mind. If that doesn't bother you, though, those scenes are well placed and well done in this book. And then after that, you go into the relationship growth in relations to the family, in relation to the other teammates, which was really quite lovely to see. Once that section has basically passed, then you have the actual miscommunication tropes that are starting to play in, and of course the anxiety of being seen as this player character's long-term girlfriend and how the world is going to view it. And then you also get a whirlwind climax and like main issue that happens, and then the recovery from that. Other characters are also introduced in this book, like Hank, who is absolutely amazing, as well as Carter's younger sister, who happens to be the main female lead in the next book. And so really enjoyed this book and its setting and its creation of the characters and the atmosphere. I liked the fact that you kind of got the full story from start to finish throughout the course of the book. And I like the fact that each of the books build on the previous characters as well and their relationships and how it affects that feeling of found family. So all in all, I gave this book a 3 stars, and I hope that was helpful in terms of description of what this book is about. Then we have Play With Me. This book is following Garrett, who is the other hockey player on Carter's team. He's also the starting A-line team. Garrett's love interest is Jenny. Jenny is the younger sister of Carter. They happen to be, this is a close proximity romance. Basically, Garrett lives in the same building on a different floor than Jenny does, and Jenny has the apartment that she has because Carter buys it for her. She is an aspiring dancer. She's also very fiery and a very strong character. However, she's still like finding her feet, still trying to figure out who she is as a person. She's also going through a phase where she believes everyone in her life is only in her life because of her brother. She's still trying to figure out which of the relationships are real and which of the relationships are only present because she happens to be the sister of a famous NHL player. She gets that thrown in her face a lot too in regards to her work. She's consistently being told that the only reason she gets opportunities is because of that relationship. So she really questions who she is and where she stands and what her worth is. Outside of that, she also has a horrible dance partner who you read more about throughout the book, and that dynamic is also very interesting to read. Outside of that, you also get to see how much of a teddy bear. I am so sorry. I don't know where the yawns are coming from. I do. We did not sleep well last night. I think I got 4 hours of sleep. I had siblings visit this weekend, and we had a grand old time. I think we all went to bed around 3 or 4 in the morning. And then I still had to wake up at 8 today, so I'm just very tired. I apologize. But coming back to this. So Garrett is also a great character. He comes off, again, playboyish. He's constantly complaining to Carter at the beginning of the book that, he doesn't have his wingman anymore, and that his, moments with beautiful women has slowed down, and he's frustrated. He does see Jenny and thinks that she's absolutely gorgeous, but is also afraid of getting injured by her brother, so never actually makes a move, but the tension is there from the beginning. And then through that close proximity and him kind of looking out for Jenny and Jenny kind of leaning on Garrett and them kind of creating a friendship, the story progresses from there. You also learn a lot about Jenny's insecurities throughout this book. You get to see some of the darker trauma she had in her younger ages, which have led to her being very, very hesitant to jump into a relationship. You also see a lot more of Garrett and his philosophies on life and where he's at, which is great. You also get more of the other found family characters. Adam in particular is talked about a lot in this book, and he's the main character in the next book. Again, this book is very well written in the sense that you get to see the beginning of the book showcasing their romance. Then you get your spice scenes as it becomes more intimate. Then you also get to see those periods of the relationship that are a little bit new, a little bit hesitant. You get to see the communication between the two characters. Then, of course, you have your climax scene, your concerning scene, and then the recovery from that scene. Overall, I thought the book was very well written. I thought the relationships between Jenny and her brother were very cute to read. I think the story between Garrett and her were very beautiful to read. Also, navigating this idea of wanting to be in a relationship but also being afraid of your loved ones was really interesting to read, because I can only imagine what that dynamic can look like. And then also on top of that, it was really fun to read Adam's character. I think Adam was just such a fun character to read as well, even though he's not the main plot character of this story. I think the setup that they do for him leading into his next book makes this book that much more enjoyable. And I think that's what I love about all of these books as well, is that you get bits and pieces of all the characters throughout the books, including the books where the characters have already found their story and their romance, but what happens next, as well as the characters whose foreshadowed stories are coming. And then of course the main character of the series book itself. And so I think this one was also very well written. This was also a solid 3-star read for me. I did thoroughly enjoy this book though. Next up, we have Unravel Me. Unravel Me follows the story of Adam. Adam is a very, very well-known NHL player as well. He is the goalie of the team. He's kind of the heart of the team. He's also the one that is the most emotional. He's the one that is the most aware of how to treat other people. All he's looking for is love. He was with his sweetheart for a very long time, and then that relationship just didn't pan out, and now he's just looking for a love that he deserves. But every single date that he's gone on has been absolutely miserable. He literally ends up in a position where every single woman he dates, he feels like they're only with him for his title, and so it's very difficult for him to trust anyone. In comes his love interest, Rosie. He happens to bump into her, and she has no idea who he is. She also has a young child that she's caring for, and she's trying to successfully navigate vet school as a single mother who's just basically working off of grant money, and has a worthless ex-boyfriend that she sired this child with, who truly wants nothing to do with his son. And she just doesn't have the greatest support system. She has 2 or 3 friends who are truly wonderful people, and they love her. And it was really nice to see her support system as well. But she doesn't really have anyone who's prioritized her or made her feel special. This book is also really interesting because Adam falls first, which is really cute to read. So it's always fun when the man falls first. It was also nice to see how they navigate the various dynamics of, you know, him wanting to get to know her, but also being afraid of telling her who she is. And then how she handles like the news of finding out how things are actually looking. Also, like this feeling of really getting to see how he just fits easily into her life, and like their relationship with the kid, as well as like the ex. All of those things kind of roll into this book. And I think overall it was just a wonderful book to read. It's also so cute to see how protective he is towards this woman and this child, how quickly he believes like their family, how hard he's willing to work and fight for this relationship, as well as how beautifully they welcome Rosie into the group when she meets the girls. This book is very heartwarming. This book, though, has very, very, very little conflict. It's almost too easy. And in a lot of ways, like I felt like Adam's character was my favorite character to read in the first 2 books, but I felt like he was kind of a different character in this book, a little bit more 2-dimensional, whereas in the first 2 books he had a lot more layers to him, so I was hoping we would get more of that. But I still absolutely adore this book because I just love Adam's character, and so this was a book that I was very much looking forward to. So I did enjoy thoroughly reading this book, and I ended up giving this book a 3.8 stars. 3.8 to 4. Then we have Fall With Me. This is the final book that has been released in this series so far. This is following the character of Jackson Riley. Of course, Jackson is introduced in the other 2 books, and he is very, very heavily foreshadowed in Unravel Me, which was Adam's book. And he kind of comes off as this character who's a little aloof, little like scared to be a part of the group, a part of the family, because he just feels like he's going to be traded away. He's never like really settled in anywhere, but you can tell that he's just a great guy and he just wants that sense of family. So without noticing it, he like easily falls into a pattern of doing what the boys want to do, and he feels very close to the women, and he feels very close to like the various children in the books as well. And without realizing it, he's kind of looking for that forever love too. He and his woman meet on a trip where basically she went after she ran out of her wedding, but she decides to go on her honeymoon anyway. So she's by herself on this miserable honeymoon after running out on her ex, who is a piece of crap. And then you have Jackson, who's literally there with some woman that he can't even remember the name of, that he's doing things to every single night. And she is just fed up hearing his voice, and he finds her very attractive. So therefore, of course, they have a moment. So it's a first hookup kind of thing. And then it's kind of frenemies to lovers in this one. And then later on, he finds out that she becomes the new team photographer. So they're now forced to be in each other's proximity. Over the course of the book, you kind of see that she's a bit of a mess, but she's figuring her stuff out. Like she's a little messy. She's been through a terrible like relationship. that luckily didn't pan out, but she's far away from her family. She doesn't know how to really be alone. She's learning how to adult. And then you have this man who is a golden retriever on the inside, but comes off as a giant jerk and is afraid of labels and commitments because he thinks everything he loves will be torn away from him. This book was very emotional to read. It was a beautifully written book. I didn't think I would enjoy this book as much as I did, but I do think this one was my favorite out of all of the books, especially as I had more time to reflect on it. It was really beautiful to see how the men were there for him as well as how the women were there for him. It was really nice to see how the women interacted with each other. The banter in this book is absolutely excellent. It does have spice. All of these books have spice. It's not closed door, it's all open spice. So if that is something that bothers you, either skip this series or skip those scenes. You absolutely can skip those scenes and still get a great story read out of these. But I would say that the spice is there. This book, though, I think the beauty of this book is just the character development. I think overall, these two characters, to me, were the ones that grew the most. And you can really see how they went from being unsure of themselves to being so sure for one another that they are ready to be there for the other person, even if the other person is not ready for that. And it's just so cute. The little things he does for her to make her feel loved and safe and secure, and the things that she does for him in return. It's just a beautiful relationship. And I think the climax in this book was also very fun to read. It was an interesting scene that happened. And I think like the final monologues when they decide that they're the ones for each other were really beautiful to read. This one was a solid 4-star read for me, and I absolutely loved it. The final book of the series is supposed to be Kara and Emmett's series. Now, the thing about that book is we already know what's happening with Kara and Emmett since the beginning of the book, but we never got to see their relationship. So there's speculation as to whether this is going to be a prequel where we get to see their relationship from start to where they are now, or if we get to see their future. As for me, I am personally hoping that this book is going to be flashbacks along with what they're going through now, because now that, you know, they're in a different phase of their life and they're trying for something new, and their friends are going through a similar phase, but they're in a different position in that, it'll be interesting to see how Kara and Emmett go through the struggles that they're facing in their marriage and in their relationship, but at the same time also get those flashbacks to what they were like when they first met, as well as how their relationship started. So I'm hoping that's how that book is going to be written. But either way, I am super, super excited to read that book, and I will be definitely buying that book and reading that book when it comes out, because I cannot wait for the final installment in the Playing for Keeps hockey romance series. Altogether, I think Becca Mack does a really good series. It's fun to read. Is it anything to write home about? Like, is it the most amazing thing I've ever read? Absolutely not. And that's not what I was going into this series for. But I think if you want like that romance, that found family, that variety in terms of the start of the relationship, like enemies to lovers versus close proximity versus he falls first, etc. You are going to get that in these books. And I also think that the dynamic of the characters within this book with one another is also what makes this series so much fun to read. So I do think it's a great series. I think it was really fun to read. I think it's a solid 3.5 stars for me. If I had to recommend it to someone, I probably would. And I'm already super excited to read the last book in the series. But I do think there's some beautiful quotes in this book. In these books, I do think like overall, it's just a fun, fast-paced read. So if you ever want a wintry, fast-paced read that has to do with hockey, this is your series. There are scenes alluding to the game of hockey as well in this series, but it's not too hockey heavy. So if you're not a big sports person, you should be fine there. But if you're really reading it for the hockey, you're not necessarily going to get that in this book, but you will get a little bit of allusion to the sport as well. Overall, just a fun, fast-paced read, and I enjoyed it. I hope that this was helpful for those who might be interested in reading the series. I absolutely love doing series reviews, and it was so much fun to be able to get through a few series this past month. I'm also trying to get through a few more series in February, so hopefully I'll be able to come back with more reviews on those books for you guys. But that's all I have for today. So until next time, I'll catch you guys later. For those of you who are new here, thank you so much for joining. If this content was something you enjoyed, then definitely consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. I put out videos every Wednesday and Sunday on bookish related content. And for those of you that are returning, thank you so much for being here. It's so nice to be able to build this bookish community to talk about all things books. I just think books are so special. They tell a story. They allow you to think about different kinds of different aspects of human society and human emotion and how we interact with one another. And I just absolutely love that exploration of the human mind. And so I live and thrive on books, and I absolutely enjoy being able to share that with all of you. So thank you so much for being here and for allowing that to happen. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.